Hey guys, welcome to another YouTube video from myself, Fraser. Here we are in a city called Cairns, which is almost virtually right at the top of Australia, Queensland. It's probably one of the most northerly main airports in the country. What I mean by one, there's Darwin up here, but regarding the Queensland state, this is definitely the northernmost gateway for the Queensland state, and there are a number of other airports dotted around up here, but this is definitely one of the most northerly airports in the country, and also a very prominent, sort of famous tourist gateway airport with the Great Barrier Reef and nice hot weather all year round. What plane is that over there? That looks like an interesting plane. Yeah, we're here with this really stunning livery. I believe this aircraft was operated by a UK company called Titan, and they've kept the livery. I saw this the other day when I was at Brisbane Airport. I'll probably post a photo of it sitting at the in the apron there, which was the original runway. I'm still learning Brisbane, by the way, but I do believe where they park the aircraft during between turnaround, this bit here, where is it? Yeah, this bit here, I do believe that was one of the original Brisbane airport runways. So yeah, I saw this the other day and I thought I'd do a little flight with this. Also to, or another reason I did this flight is because I did do a flight from Brisbane back down to Adelaide, but I've accidentally deleted it, so that you'll see a couple of videos I did with the Qantas StarTrack livery that I was going to do a flight from Brisbane down to Adelaide, but fortunately deleted it. But here we are with this stunning livery, this BAE146 200, and this aircraft also has a bit of a interesting. It's got a pedigree in the Oceania region. ANZ New Zealand operated this aircraft in their fleet. You might have seen me do a few freight runs in it. It's exactly the same aircraft, so except for a different registration, of course. But yeah, this aircraft did operate for ANZ New Zealand, doing passenger flights by day, freight runs by night. Here we are, yeah, and here we are in just a free third-party airport that I got from Flights in TO, but one day I'll definitely I will look at getting the pay version, but this is still a pretty good, decent little rendition. I'm not too sure if there's something I'm missing with the actual terminals, but mind you, it is like a Microsoft 2020 airport, so I'm guessing that there are a few things that don't add up. But yeah, here we are with a aircraft that's got a bit of a history in this part of the world. As I mentioned, flew with ANZ New Zealand. I do believe it flew in Australia before it went to Titan in Europe. But yeah, here we are with the it's still in its old livery before it got brought back into Australia. So we're going to do a flight from up here in Cairns, doing all the classic VOR, flying all the way down to Brisbane, and then hopefully, fingers crossed, I'll carry on with the flight I was supposed to do, that I did do, to Adelaide. So if I don't make it, it might just be due to various things, but I will definitely do a flight from Brisbane to Adelaide. So here we are, cold and dark, and we are just going to come into here. Actually, what we will do is we will minimize the the flight yoke. We'll just go through and just do the old classic startup. So this kind of doubles as a very basic cold and dark startup tutorial as well. So we'll just turn on the battery lights. Well, we remembered, we'll flick this up to 15 degrees up via weather radar. You can hear it all powering up, which is really nice. And I believe we come up here and we turn on the nav light. We'll turn on the no smoking signs to on, cabin lights can go to and that does, we'll turn on the wing lights, and we will turn on the inner fuel pump, and we'll turn on the APU, get that powered up, get that air conditioning into the cabin. Well, not so much the cabin, but get it into the flight deck, because it is a very hot and stuffy 31 degrees up here in Cairns. And what I will do, I'll do it in this way first so I don't forget. I'll turn on the oxygen masks, the oxygen, turn this one on, import our flight plan. We'll start our refueling, get that all fueled up. And we'll open up all of the doors. We'll turn on the no, not that one, turn this one to auto AC pump so we can open up the side doors, but I'm guessing we'll need that APU to get online first. So we'll turn on APU air, turn on pack 2. What do I need to do now? Turn on the cabin fan, get some air into the cockpit, and then we'll come up here, we'll turn on all of these avionics, all of these master switches, turn that to auto, turn the anti-skid to on, turn on these on, and will that mean I can open up the what was it that I need to do to open that up? We'll turn these on as well. Maybe that was what we needed. Yep, that did it. So yeah, you turn on all of these when the when you go through. You'll turn on when you turn on the batteries. You do usually do those first. I did these first, but that's all right. And we'll load up the aircraft as well. Actually, I've done something wrong here, just bear with me. That's totally the wrong flight plan, so we'll reload it again. Now we're going to do this properly. Had it accidentally loaded up to my previous flight. That's a lot better. Perfect, so we're at the airport. We've just loaded up our freight, and what we are going to do is we're going to push the magic B button to set our altimeters. So we've turned on all of these switches. So usually, actually, when you turn on the battery switches first, then you turn on all of these to on. We'll turn on our all of these. We'll turn on our APU generators, so we're powered by our APU now. Then you come up here and then you turn all of these on, and we can turn off the AC pump now. We don't need that anymore. Right, I think that's all set, so we're going to go to FS HUD and bring up our flight plan. While we're here, we'll turn on all of our radios. turn this to on, and I believe that needs to be powered on as well. We'll start our flight. I like to turn on my brake temperature thing so I can have a digital reading of the outside air temperature. I'll get rid of this as well. Get rid of that. What I will do is I'll do what I usually do. I'll turn on all of these little lights to bright. Not that it makes much difference, but usually it does in the daylight, but for some reason it's not quite showing it like I thought it would. Gives it a bit more brightness, doesn't it? Right, we'll power this on, and we'll test it for our first flight of the day. And we'll get it ready for takeoff, and we're going to use flaps 24 because it is sort of an underpowered aircraft. Get all that set, and we can just turn that off. For some reason my FS HUD does not seem to be working. I'm just going to reset it. Right, we'll carry on with the rest of the flight plans. So we will be using Cairns VOR as one of our radios. We'll set that to 13, and then we'll just select that to pre so we don't mess it up. Our next waypoint is going to be Townsville, so we're going to preset that to 12.5, and we'll set 12.5 in here as so. And we'll be using, I like to set the nav2 for the outbound, so we're going to set that to 120. This one we'll set to our course, which is going to be 152. I'm just going to have a look at my flight plan, see what my altitude. It's going to be 29,000 feet, so I'll get this selected like so. And just make sure, like I forget many times, just make sure you arm it. But before we arm it, we need to turn on our we need to turn on our flight directors, so our flight directors can come alive, and that will give us the ability to turn on these autopilot functions. So our boarding and our loading is complete, so we can now go ahead and we need to turn on our AC pump to auto to raise the stairs and the side cargo door, and we'll close up all of these doors. Now let's see if this works this time. Right, that's all the doors closed, so we can now come up here and for some reason FS HUD is not working whatsoever, so turn that to auto, I'll turn that to off, our pumps to off. Maybe it will kick in when we're in the air, so we'll... Yeah, for some reason there's something not working with FS HUD, which is a bit of a shame. Because I did update it today and there might be something wrong with it, so what to do. What I might do, folks, I'm just going to pause it and reset the game and see how it works. Okay, so right, folks, we're back. For some reason I can't. FS HUD is working for other flights, but for some reason it's not connecting up for this particular leg, so I've got no idea what's going on, but we'll just do it as I did before I did FS HUD. We'll just do it all by, you know, just doing it ourselves. So yeah, we're all powered up, pretty much how I left it before we turned off the video. So we'll just get going and we'll depart. Alright, so we are going to be using runway 33, so we're just going to select runway heading 33. And we'll have a look at our departures. We'll probably just use the CS2 for this one, which is, I believe, will be our radar navigation one. So basically as soon as we depart we'll be turning outbound on 170 degrees, and then we'll track on back to our VOR. So I guess we just carry on out or out to here, but I'm here for this. For what they're pretty much showing is that it's surrounded by mountains, so we don't want to be below effectively 5,400 feet, but we'll be flying out. We'll just cruise on out above the ocean, and then we will, once we are above, I guess 5,600, we'll head on back around and pick up the VOR. So we'll give it a go, eh? So we'll depart on our runway heading, which is 335. Because it's not accurate, we'll just set it, maybe we'll set it out, we'll just use the eye level. We won't try and use too much of the numbers here because that's not terribly realistic in real life. But anyway, we're ready to push back and head on down to Brisbane and play around with this, see if this works or not. But we'll just use good old-fashioned DIY self-vectoring. So right, we will turn on the beacon light. Carrying on from sort of roughly what I was saying, like this, you guys could use this as a tutorial too, and if you want how you want to do this sort of flying. So we've got all of these switches all on, we've got these pumps all off, Gen 1 and 4 are off at the moment. So before we start our engine, we'll turn on our engine anti-isis, we'll turn on continuous ignition, we'll turn on our ice detection, that stays off for engine start. We'll turn off our packs and APU, and we'll turn on all of our fuel pumps. We'll call up our tug, release the handbrake, release the chocks will go a long way in helping us well, and we can now start our pushback in this beautiful Titan livery. Alright, we're going to start our engines now. We're going to pretend we've got clearance because this is probably the longest, arduous task of flying the BAE is turning on all 4 engines. So we select that to on, we select that to our engine we want to start, and you hold down on that, and that will, once it gets above 10, we can now turn on the fuel. We'll just go out here and make sure we've got our taxi lined up. We can now turn on our transponder. We'll just go full on, turn it to the one that picks up the aircraft. Right, we'll stop it there. Parking brake back on, tug can disappear. And as I say, once it gets up to 200, you can usually go on to the next engine. Wait till it flicks over to the 10, 15, thereabouts. Fire up engine number 3. While we're waiting for that to all do its thing, we're just having one last look, make sure everything is all in its correct position. Right, like I say, once that gets around about 200 TGT, you'll come up here and these lights will come off very soon, just like so, and we can now go on to engine number 2. Same process, just wait for that to get above, as long as it gets above 10, it's pretty good. We'll turn on these radios. What else do I need to do? We'll release this little warning switch while we remember. In the checklist it gets you to do it quite early on, but I leave it in because it's just the bells and whistles and all the rest of it can be quite, what's the word, it can distract you, I find. So I have that turned off, and right, this next engine can now flick on the fuel. And like I say, we're not real world pilots, but we'll just, for argument's sake, we'll just set that our pressure for our cruising altitude. And I think that's basically it, guys. We can now turn on the runway extension light, turn on our taxi light, we can fasten the seatbelts, that's what we should have done, arm our emergency exits, what we should have done when we first started the engine start. We can now select that to off and turn off the engine master switch. We can now come to here, turn our generators 1 and 4 on. We can turn off the continuous ignition, and we don't really need that. We can turn on our screen packs, whatnot here. Turn on our APU, we'll turn both packs on. Come up here, we'll turn that to auto, on, and on. Engine 2, 3, AC pump to auto, and PTU to on. And just have one last look. Everything else looks pretty good. And we're pretty much ready for, turn off our parking brake. We're pretty much ready to head on out. Select, we're doing flaps 24 for our takeoff. Turn on our TMS, go back to takeoff mode, and just make sure you push 24, make sure it's all set. And we'll come into here, we'll go arm doors. I find when you're flying these cargo aircraft, for some reason this announcement thing is a bit buggy. You can't, unlike when you're flying the passenger version, I noticed this all resets itself, so just for you guys to be aware of that. No big issue, it's just in reality it's not a cargo, it's not a passenger aircraft anyway, so we'll turn on our weather radar, get that fired up. We'll arm our heading and we'll turn on that. No, we won't. I think that doesn't really do much if you're not needing to have it on, so we won't worry about that. And we've missed our taxi out, so we'll go carry on down here. But yeah, flying out of I definitely will get the Cairns airport when I get paid. I think it will be a nice addition. This is better than than nothing, but as you can see, I think there's something missing from 2020-24, because this is just I think it's just a freeware for 2020, so there must be a few various things that are not working, but like I say, it's better than the default aircraft, the default airport. But yeah, as you can see, you get the idea of the airport. It is surrounded by a few hills, so you can see why you can't turn around to the left. You have to turn around, climb out of the ocean. Really love the BAE. It's such a... Oh, one thing I have forgotten to do is, now the flaps are set, we just click on this little button here to set our trims, and then click on the takeoff config, so that shows us that everything is all good. So that's the final bit we have to do. But yeah, love the BAE. Specifically for myself, I've got memories of as a kid growing up and having this operate into my old airport of Rotorua, but I don't recall, I was quite young anyway, but Ansett did operate the 200 series, but the 300 series was what I saw a lot operating into Rotorua, into what was a very short runway. And if you see my other videos, I've shown you guys that what little notches to use when you're turning around to get some realism into flying into Rotorua pre-runway extensions. But as you see, it's a very, I believe it's 1,300 meters, which is very little runway. Right, carry on out here. As much as it's a decent freeware airport, I will definitely be getting the payware version. Always just looking around, just making sure, because in real life you'd have two of you doing this, and you would be definitely using your checklists flying a complicated aircraft such as this, but we don't have a co-pilot, and we also realise that this is just a game, so I dare say we are definitely doing the old classic cutting corners, but nothing apart from an engine that doesn't work or something like that. Thankfully there are no consequences to that. This is just for entertainment purposes, so our throttle lights can come on. We'll turn on our landing lights, get it all ready for when we turn around. But yeah, we're just, like I say, did I turn this on? Yeah, we're just, what's what I'm looking for? It's just us in the cockpit, and we've got time constraints due to family life, so we just want to make things as quick as possible. Like I say, if you want to, there's a checklist there. You can absolutely go hard with the systems and all the rest of it, all the various checks that you do, the tests that you do, but yeah.
TMS sets takeoff.
Alright, we are now going to throttle this up.
Power set, flex achieved.
So you throttle up to 500 just above to get that first notification, and then you set it to roughly this setting here, and
speed alive both sides,
or this one here, and then the TMS basically
80 knots cross-checked.
Takes care of everything else, the very primitive auto throttle function that we have. And
V1.
We can
rotate.
Start.
V2. Positive rate of climb, gear up.
Right, we'll start our turn out to heading 70 degrees. That's fine. Right, we'll start nosing down and get that speed up to 110 or 210 knots.
V2 plus 10, safe height speed, select flap 18.
As you can see, we're definitely not powering on up into the sky. It's quite a heavy aircraft and a very underpowered aircraft, as you would have heard the various strokes over the years. Now we're just sort of hand flying this too. As you can see, there's a bit of the Great Barrier Reef out in the distance there. But I'm trying to stay in the cockpit for this announcement thing, because I find that when you step outside of the cockpit, you miss these announcements, and it sort of bugs out a bit for some reason. Well, we can go into our maximum takeoff thrust now.
VFTO, safe height speed, select flap top.
Right, we're getting to that 210 for our initial climb out. So that's going to be fine. We'll turn on our autopilot, activate indicated airspeed, and we'll just let the aircraft do everything itself. Landing, oh no, we don't need to do that just yet. We'll just get above that 5,000, make it 6,000 feet, then we'll start our turn back towards the, well, what we could do, we could actually start our turn now. Actually, we'll turn left actually, and track on back to the VOR, because by that time we should, as we climb over the Great Barrier Reef, Yeah, we should be well and truly above that altitude. Well and truly. Right, we're pretty much on our way, so we can turn on all of these engine packs. Turn on the APU. Turn off the APU, I should have said, and we can now turn off our AC pump and our pitot pump. And we're just tracking on back to the airport. Yeah, I'm just going to increase a bit of sim rate just to, you know, just get it going a little bit faster. And we're just adjusting the heading bugs until that VOR needle is aiming, pointing directly at the airport, like so. And basically we'll be, once we fly over Cairns, we'll start our outbound tracking of our various radios that we've got all programmed into our flight plan. And I'm going to start my turn now just to keep it nice and smooth. Looks like a really nice place here, Cairns, doesn't it? Looks very like, it's got that tropical holiday getaway vibe, doesn't it? And then we just adjust this knob accordingly and get ourselves on this outbound bearing. And we can turn off our landing lights, turn off our runway turn off lights. We will now go into VR. We'll start tracking this VOR, and we'll use that sync button to synchronize our autopilot, lower the nose, get it to around 250 knots. And we'll just push the sync button, re-engage the autopilot, and we'll now climb out at 250 knots. And just go through, make sure we've done everything. We'll turn off our APU now, we don't need that. Everything else is where we want it. We can release the seatbelt sign. And that's basically everything that we need to do. We're just now going to climb out to our cruising altitude, and yeah. And we're now alive with the I believe it's the Townsville VOR, so we can now go ahead and select Townsville like so. Make sure you just push that button again to re-engage it. Have I got the wrong frequency? No. Why isn't this showing up? Interesting. Oh, it's 14.1. Make sure you don't do that mistake, folks. It's because there was two VORs, there's the because it's Townsville I just remembered as a Air Force base, so there's the Air Force VOR. Now that should work. Right, because we're tracking out on our Townsville VR, we'll get our next VOR all programmed in and ready, which is going to be this one here, 13.7. So we're all set up for that. And I guess we can now go outside and enjoy the, speed it up a bit and enjoy the flight out here as we admire the Great Barrier Reef in the distance here. And if there was a bit better water masking, I could imagine this whole area would be full of beautiful water masking, whatever you'd call it, underwater features that would be quite prominent in this part of the world. There's a bit of water masking going on down there, which looks pretty nice. And when we get to our altitude, we'll give this TMS a go and dial it back and try and use it like a rudimentary auto throttle function. Some beautiful water masking down there, isn't there? That's what I can imagine all of this coastline would look like. Right, we're almost at our cruising altitude now, so we will just set our speed up to around about 6.68, max 68, which is sort of what our cruise altitude is roughly, our cruise speed. Right, we'll throttle this back Oh, what I will do is I'll set our pressure there, like so, which is something I forgot to do. And we will now throttle back our throttles. Just turn that off. But we're just going to be focusing on our outbound quickly before we get too carried away. So just go to heading mode. We overflew Townsville there. Just get this back on course, and we will now re-engage the VOR tracking device, whatever that's called in real life. Alright, we can now start throttling back our throttles just a bit more. What we will do is we'll go to the next VOR because we're picking that up. We'll preset this to 141. And we will now just get this next VOR pre-programmed as well, which is going to be 6.9. Right, following that VOR, which is 13.7, and then we'll fly on down to Rockhampton, which is 16.9. So let's get into this auto throttle, eh? So our we're going to be using our TGT indicator, and we're just going to see what it is sitting at. We're just going to see if we can get it down to 700 without it dropping in the 700s. No, we're just going to have to right, we're going to have to set it in the 800s to start off with, so we'll just set it to 820. We'll go TGT, we'll select sync, master 2, set it to N1. I don't know what the difference really does, but it's going off the TGT setting anyway. I'll just wait for that speed to come up a bit more. But we'll get our heading set for our outbound, which is going to be 141. As we're getting pretty close to our VOR, but we will come into here. We'll just set this to 810. Which seems to have just held off the speed just a little bit, so that's going to be roughly our setting there for our rudimentary auto throttle setting. So we get on to basically the gateway to the Whitsundays and the stunning Hamilton Island. Alright, we'll go to heading mode, we'll reselect that to 140. Is it 140 or 141? Yeah, 141. We can now come into here and go try 800. And we might be going into the 700s, which I thought would be the case, so we will. We'll select our VOR, our next one, because we're picking it up already, so we'll just go into that. And we'll just go into the VOR mode. It looks like we can now go into the 700s, so when you go to the next, when you do change it, it will turn off, or I guess you could say turn off. So go back to TGT, sync, and all that's all preset. And I'll just scroll on back to the 700s like it is here. Right, then we'll see how that goes. We're just holding that speed, so looks like it's working alright. Next we will just get our next VOR, which will be our final one to Brisbane, so I'll select 13.2. Oh, yeah, that's right. So that's Brisbane all set. And we can now probably try scrolling this back just a little bit more. But yeah, instead of using the throttles, you're just scrolling these numbers back to get that sweet spot, and that's how you use this TMS like a rudimentary autopilot, because you'll never get this delicate adjustments using the throttle, so this is how you can do it. And this will be interesting to see if this weather radar does work. I do find it can be a bit hit and miss sometimes, but it is forecast for rain here in Brisbane, which is, as we speak, it is a bit muggy and drizzly at the moment, so we'll see if that picks it up. And yeah, predominantly these aircraft, these Whisper jets are flown, as with most freight operations, they're flown at night time, so you basically never get to see them. But I've done a few night flights now, and they are pretty boring. You don't get to enjoy the nice views like we are at the moment. Right, I'm just going to see if his HUD is working. Must be something that is with this particular flight that it doesn't like for some particular reason. I'll just try this. Load it directly from SimBrief, see if this does anything. But yeah, that speed's starting to drop just a little bit, so flick it up to 293 just to get that, stop that speed from bleeding off too much. What I might do is I might just see if I can just do a new flight plan. Right, we're getting close to our VOR, so for some reason my thing's frozen. But why has this frozen? Oh, this is really annoying. It looks like my viewer's been locked for some reason. Right folks, third time's the charm, third time's lucky. I had a few issues there with, as you saw in the previous video, the screen locked out, so I had to reset the whole flight. But here we are back again, heading towards the Rockhampton VOR as we getting, don't know why my ice detection is coming on, so I've got to turn on my ice detection. But yeah, here we are. Back in the cockpit, we are now, as I said, tracking over wheel. We sort of let you guys go previously, but what I just realised we forgot to do is we've got to turn on the central tank auto transfer, so hopefully that will start using up the fuel in the centre tank there. But yeah, we're now back on track, heading on out towards our next waypoint, which is going to be the long haul down to Brisbane. And yeah, as you guys would have known too, we are using this this TMS as a basic autopilot, and it seems to auto throttle, and it seems to be going really well. I'm just going to shut the central fuel tank now, and yeah, one thing we can do as well here, we've got a bit of, like, we're going off this, what do you call it, this electronic flight bag. It's given us an exact fuel reading. You wouldn't really tell if there's any, like, you can just sort of see there's a slight difference here with fuel in each tank, because we have the APU running and it just drains off the one tank, and so we're going to balance out the aircraft just a bit. So we're going to go into here. I'm going to cross-feed open. We'll turn off these pumps, and then we'll turn off the ones that we want it to drain off, so no more fuel will be draining out of this one. So I think we should turn on the but yeah, we're just draining off this right hand fuel tank just to get it balanced, and then we're going to turn these on quickly, turn these back on, shut the crossfeed, and that's how you balance the fuel tanks. I'm sure there's another process you need to do, but that seems to have worked. And we're going to dial back our TMS just a bit more, because we seem to be holding that, seem to be speeding up just a little bit. But yeah, we're holding that speed pretty nicely, and we're going to go ahead and get our runway ready for our arrival. Yeah, as you guys know, for some reason FS HUD doesn't seem to be working for this leg of the flight, so we're just going to have to do our own vectoring for this one, which is a bit of a shame, because I was hoping to use FS HUD to vector us in, but not to worry. I wonder, I'm just going to try something else. I'm just going to go to my flight plan and just try something else. Right, I wonder if it's just a BAE thing, so I've just got a flight plan loaded up for an Airbus. I'm just going to see if that makes any difference. If it doesn't, then it must be an issue with flying out of Cairns. Yeah, it must be an issue with something to do with the Cairns. I might change it to something else. I'm just going to play around with this. I'm just going to see if that is if there is an issue with Cairns Airport. I'm just going to try try departing from a different airport. I'll try Townsville, see if that does anything. But we'll go ahead and switch over to the Brisbane VOR. And again, for some reason, I'm pretty sure there's weather down there, rain that this should be picking up. Right, we're just going to get our flight set up anyway for our arrival. Everything's set up, setting our decision height was going to be 210. Our RDS is going to be 115, so I'll get this ready in here. And our heading for that, our course is going to be 16. So get this set in here for our reference. And that's basically all of our procedures all set up for our arrival into Brisbane. Alright, I've set up another flight plan that's not out of Cairns, so we'll see if this does anything to it. Yeah, it must be something with Cairns Airport, eh? Right, we're just gonna do this and hopefully we can get headings and whatnot to our airport. Right, that seems to be working now. Unfortunately, it must be just a conflict with that airport that I've got in there. Right, we're going to change our arrivals, so we're going to use runway 01 left of the ILS. Our parking is going to be here at the international terminal, so we're going to be selecting either 69 or 70, so we'll just see if 70 is available for our parking. Parking 70. We're going to do RLS, we're going to go none, we're going to go vectors, none. Right, let's try that, let's see if they will give us vectors for our arrival. So we better start with our approach. So we're going to arm our height that we're going to be descending to. We're going to go descent mode, pull back the throttles just a bit. We're going to go VS mode, but to activate that we're going to sync our autopilot, lower it down to what we want. So we want around about 2,000 feet per minute. Re-engage the autopilot, and should just hold that like so. And we have been given our vectors, so we are going to head over to 150, which is basically where we've been pointing, so that's a good sign. And I'm just going to speed up the game just a little bit because we have had a lot of downtime there with good old fashioned troubleshooting. Right, has any rain been picked up? So it should be working. Let's see what it picks up, eh? Right, I'm going to turn off my anti-ice because we don't have any ice warnings now. I'm going to turn on my PTU. Alright, I'm just going to push the magic B button to get our altimeters. And we'll just pull back our speed just a bit. We're just going to disregard that. But cool, we've given our next one, it's going to be set to 2,500, but I'm not too sure if that's correct or not, because that the final approach thing is 4,000 feet, so I don't know. Goodness knows. Right, we'll turn on our landing lights. We'll get our APU up and running. Turn on our runway exit lights, turn on our seatbelt signs. We'll get this all set up for our arrival. I'm just going to peel back our descent rate just a touch. I'm just going to set this for 4,000 feet for now because we're just a bit too low. And I'm going to select flaps 30 for our landing. And we have to go back to set our speed to 110. .210 I should say. And I'm going to flick over to the ILS. It's pretty hard to judge your speed when you're just using this little needle here. Right, we'll turn on our AC pump, get that ready, and we will set this to 2,500. And I think we're pretty good to just arm the VS mode, just drop it down to about there and rearm the autopilot, the sync the pilot up. And we're just going to use a bit of speed brakes just to keep our speed thereabouts. Make sure you arm it. Whenever you're adjusting speed, make sure you've armed it there, because otherwise we end up with a nasty surprise.
2,500. Terrain ahead.
290, 190. Cool, so it's our beam vectoring is all working out fine, which is great. Pull that back to 190, 180. Actually, with this BAEs, we just use our speed brakes to bring back our speed. 155.
Speed checked below 205. Select flaps 18. Speed check below 205. Select gear down.
But for the best part, FS HUD seems to be working pretty good. I'm pretty happy with these vectorings. I'm just going to follow these vectorings because I do know they can be a bit weird sometimes, but we'll give it the benefit of the doubt. But as I mentioned many times, I'm not a real-world pilot. But this seems to be going really well.
Localizer armed. Localizer captured.
Climb, climb, climb.
Yeah, just a little bit there with the vectoring. I think I was just going to see how it goes with the old common sense, but with just following the vectoring. But it is a bit of common sense when you're on that, coming up to like capturing the ILS. Just don't. When they gave me that really weird like heading 255, just disregard those ones if you know what I mean. But yeah, there should definitely be rain coming up on that weather radar there.
Climb, climb, climb.
Right, well,
Localizer armed.
and the glide slope will
Glide slope
basically
armed.
the ILS. Yeah, I did, what I'm trying to say, I did put the flaps down a bit too early, but I was just following that commands because I do know if it can sort of bug out a bit if you don't follow them, but we'll see how it recaptures itself. So we've got the flaps 18 and the gear out requests, so we'll see
Localizer captured.
what happens when we deploy the lander gear, if it carries on with its. We'll find out if it will carry on with its with the first officer prompts. But yeah, we've done this flight before, haven't we, when we landed in Brisbane and we're supposed to carry on down to Adelaide, which I did do, but unfortunately the video got deleted. But we'll better turn on the APU air and we can turn off these pumps. We'll turn on the continuous just in case the rain gets heavy. But apart from that, everything looks pretty good for our landing. Better pull back the speed just a touch as we enjoy this lovely approach flying over the beautiful Brisbane city CBD. And that's us on the ILS, so we can now pull back the throttles. Actually, we'll use the speed brake like it's intended to be used. And we can probably, from personal observations, I've noticed most aircraft have their landing gear sort of deployed now. And the moment of truth is going to be, and we're going to be flaps 30 as well, the moment of truth will be seeing if this first officer...
Speed checked below
Oh,
180.
perfect.
Select flaps 24. Speed checked below 170. Select flaps 30.
Perfect. So I know for future now, if I don't need to put my landing gear and my flaps down, I can just hold off on that. As we're now capturing the RLS into Brisbane Airport. And we're just using the speed brakes. We don't want to be too slow on our landing. Just putting a bit of throttle up.
1,000.
But everything is all powered on as it should be. Right, I'm going to disarm the autopilot.
Autopilot disconnected.
I'm going to turn off the TMS. Actually, we should probably keep it on for our landing. I think it does give you a bit more stability. And for some reason there's no weather coming up.
Plus 100. Minimums. Minimums. $50, $40, $30, $20, $10.
Ground idle.
It's a bit of a heavier
Yellow
landing
and
then.
green spoilers.
Look at that, the weather is coming up on the weather radar, so
Brake
it
pressure
must be...
C.
I'm assuming it might be just a... It might actually be something to do with active sky, but
80 knots.
good to see the weather radar does work. As I swerve all over the runway. Right,
60 knots.
here we are folks, we've just touched down into Brisbane Airport. Right, flaps can come up, our spoilers can come in. We'll go to our taxi lights. We'll turn off our runway extension lights. We can turn off our TMS. What we will do is we'll just get rid of this little warning thing. Turn off the weather radar, flick that up to up. Select this to exponent. And we can now turn off these anti-ice warning things. We can turn off our continuous whatchamacallit. And yeah, that's all us ready to, that's all of our after takeoff, after landing checklists. And we can turn off our flight directors, we don't need those anymore, reset those. And yeah, we'll head on down to our gate and we'll do another flight to, here's a little Qantas 737 landing. We'll do a little turnaround flight and head on down to Adelaide like we initially had in our previous flight. We'll just turn off our, better turn off our strobe lights as well, we don't need those. But it's basically what it looks like right now here in Brisbane. Nice gloomy skies. It is a very long taxi back to the terminal if you land on runway 1 left, but runway 1 left definitely gives you that closer up a view of the city as you come in for your landing, which is what I do like. It almost reminds me of when I used to fly around Europe in Flight Simulator, is it Munich, landing on runway 25 right. That was definitely a really cool runway to land on, really up and close with the city. And this will be my taxiway here. Alright, I'm gonna once we get around this corner here, I'll turn off my taxi lights. I'll probably do that now actually, don't really need them on. And this will be my gate here. I might just use this taxiway because we aren't that middle gate, that middle taxi line is for the big heavy jets, and we're not one of those, so we'll just go in like so, and taxi in like this. And I think anyway here is fine. Parking brake can now come on and we can now go ahead and turn off all the engines. I might turn on the exit light too. We don't need the beacon anymore. Give it a bit of brightness and we'll go through and turn off these pumps that we don't need. Generators can come off. Runway exit lights can come off. They must have come on when I turn off the lights. Shocks, passengers, cargo, and the stairs can be deployed. And that concludes the first leg of our flight. Oh, we can turn off these pumps actually. Oh, I should just let that. Is that open? Yep, that's open, so I will go ahead and get the other flights sorted and we will see you again shortly for our flight down to Adelaide.